So we're going to speak about mail merge. So Word 2011 for Mac. When you want to do mail merge, you need two things. You need an original document, like a letter, and you also need an address list. So a list of the people that you wish to send that letter to. So I have a letter prepared here, and I also have an address list prepared here. Now, an address list can be done as simple as creating a word processing document. So I'm just going to open a blank document and I'm going to insert a table. And what we can do is we can put a table in. I just put 5 by 6 or so. We can create an address list by going in and calling it first name, last name. We can maybe put address 1, address 2, and we can put maybe country. And what we would do then is, in the rows beneath it, we would fill out the person's information underneath, and we would put the address and so on. So you can see we can put them in here. And I would just save it as a regular Word document. So I just go to File, Save As, and we would just save it as a regular Word document. I'll put it to my desktop and I'll just call it New Addresses. And we can click on Save and it'll pop up here for us then, so we've new addresses. So what I'll do is I'll show you the one I created earlier, the exact same way as I just created that one. So if I open it up, you can see I just have first name, last name, address 1, address 2, county, country, and I put in reference number here at the end. And I've just filled in the information for each. So just a standard Microsoft Word table I'm using as my address list. You could also use an Excel spreadsheet or an Access database, but a Microsoft Word table works fine for this. So we have two things. We have our addresses and we have our letter that we created. So what we are going to do is we are going to combine both of them to create a number of letters. So what we're going to do is we're going to open the letter and it'll open up in Microsoft Word for us. I'm going to go to my tools and I'm going to go to Mail Merge Manager. When I go to Mail Merge Manager, it's going to open up the Mail Merge Manager here on the right hand side for me. Now you can see straight away it has 6 sections. What we're going to do is we're going to speak about each of the 6 sections and work our way through it. First thing I like to tell people to do is if you click where you want the address to go, so the other person's address, if you click where you want it to go, it saves you time later on. So the first thing we do is number 1 here, click on the wee drop down arrow. It's telling us to select the type of document. So we click into it and we want to create a form letter. So we already have our letter created, but we want to create a form letter, and that's the first step done. So we've told it that we're creating a letter. The next step, number 2, then it says get a list. So this is the list of people we want to send this letter to. Now it's going to give us a couple of options. It's going to give us an option for creating a new list on the spot. It's going to ask us if we want to import a list that we have, so like the list we created earlier. It'll ask us if we want to use our contacts from either Windows or Apple. We are going to use the list we created. So when we click on Get List, we're going to open a data source because we have a data source which is the main merge addresses, the addresses we created earlier on, that box type. We're going to use that one. So I click on Open Data Source. It's going to ask me where is my data source. Now in my case it's on my desktop. So if I click on my desktop, you can see I have mail merge addresses. I also have this new addresses which we created earlier. I'm going to use this mail merge addresses. So I just tap on it. It gives us a quick preview of it. You can just see it's just that table that we've seen. And we click on Open. So what it does is, in section 3, so we've done section 1. I'm going to close up these triangles. We've done section 1. We've done section 2. We're on section 3 now. it shows us that we have a number of different fields or placeholders. So you can see we have first name, last name, address 1, address 2, county. We have country and reference, which is the ones that I showed you earlier on that address list. So what it wants us to do is it wants us to drag them in to each section. Now it's good practice to have your insertion point in the correct place first to save you having to alter it later on. So we drag our first name in, and you can see we release it and it puts the first name there. If we press a space between our first name and our last name, we're going to want a space to be in. So we click it and we drag it in, and you can see it's putting it just after that space there. We then go on to the next line using the return key, and then we drag in address 1, go on to the next line, we drag in address 2, go on to the next line, I'll put in county and go on to the next line, and then I put in country. So you can see I'm building it up exactly like address would be. I have the word dear put in here. I can put in dear, and I'll just put in first name there. So you can see what it's going to do is it's going to replace each section here, like first name. Everywhere in our address list that has a first name in it, it's going to place the person's first name there. So it'll have the first name here. So on the quick example we done, the name we put in was James Brown. So it would put James in the first name section and Brown in the last name section, because that's what it done. Now we're not using that, we're using the mail merge addresses, which is a different list, but just to show you the type of thing that we're going to be doing. If we wanted, we could put in a reference number and also put in the reference. We could put in that reference there. So anywhere we put the reference number in, it will go in. We can add a section maybe up here at the top, and we can put in the reference number. And what I'll do is I'll put a field in then, reference number. So it's going to add that reference number in for each place. So we've number 3 done. Then we can click away on the triangle. Filter recipients then, what it will let you do is if you're using a address list and you have the address list set up into different sections. So for example, if you have maybe members from different counties or members from different countries, you can filter that it only sends to certain members. We are not going to use that section. The next section is the preview results. The first button here lets us view it. So if I click on the view, you can see, I click it off again and back on. It's showing me reference number 4559 is Jim Morris. It gives an address for Jim, and then it says Dear Jim. I have arrows here. I have the first record, the previous record, the next record, and the last record. And what I can do is I can click in between them and look through my different records, and it shows me all the different people that I'm sending. Notice when it's on Peter here, it's showing Peter here. It's not mixing up people's data. So if I go back to Pat, you can see it's Pat Sexton here and Pat here. So it doesn't mix up people's data. So that's what this 5th section is about. It's a preview results section. So I'm going to close out of number 5. So the last thing we're going to do is this 6th section. So it's complete and merge. Now we have a couple of options down at the bottom here. We've merged the printer, which will merge the document to the printer. So if we have 10 or 12 pages, it will put it straight to the printer. Then we have merged to new document. Now we spoke earlier about you need 2 documents to create a mail merge. We need the source document, which is the letter, and we also need an address list. So what it will do is it will merge both of them into one document. So we will have, if we have 12 addresses, it will create 12 different letters. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll merge the new document. And you can see now at the bottom here, we have pages 1 of 11. If I scroll down through them, there I have a letter for Jim Morris. There I have a letter for Sarah Donnelly. I have one for John Moyes, one for Pat Sexton, one for Julie Cooper, one for Thomas O'Neill, one for Peter Smith, one for Jared Ferguson, and so on. You can see the way it's going there, right the way down through it. Now, the main thing is now that we can print out this document, and if we go to print, we have 11 different pages to be printed out. 11 different letters right the way through it. Everything is the same on each letter apart from a couple of sections. And them sections that are different, or if we go back to this one, we can show you. The sections that are different are going to be the first name, the last name, the address 1, the address 2, county, country, and then obviously the first name. But everything else is the same. So it's used if you're sending the same letter out to multiple people, that you can personalize the letters for them. So that's the mail merge for Mac Word 2011. Do check back on the YouTube channel to see other tutorials that we will have.